Welcome back, guys. This is another episode of the Supraliminal Spotlight Show. Today, in-house, we got the very special, Jeff Perry.
Also known as Chef Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Here we are. So, we just came off of his set, had a lot of fun, a lot of Latin, jazz, sample-based, fucking chill-ass vibes
Kitties
that
there.
I was getting from you. Really interesting stuff. And
And if you haven't watched it already, it's in the description. Also, top right of your screen, open another, tab, open that up. Open it so it's on your recent, history, so it'll pop up again. But make sure you watch that beat set. It's killer.
yes, definitely. Yeah, so I guess we'll start to get into the meat of things a little bit. And I know usually Kenji opens up with one question, but maybe we'll switch it up this time around. And
We'll wait for that.
Yeah. So this is always a curious thing to me. Is in the beginning of any beat maker's life, there's like your first love of either an instrument or a piece of gear. And then, like, where you get to at this point where, like, you have a favorite piece of gear now, what did you start with? Was it either, like, instrument-based or, like MPC-based, or how did that go about for you? And then, like, how the evolution of that, like, how do you think you got to where you're at now with in terms of your equipment?
Gotcha. So I could answer that with I don't know. I basically have a whole timeline of events that are memorable to me in pieces of equipment.
Perfect.
And it just kind of depends on the timing, like very young to like where I'm at now. It's always changing and evolving. But basically, the first memory I have of being just the biggest fan of music and a piece of equipment that kind of helped me get into my whole flow of things. So I remember when I was probably in, I want to say elementary school. I'm thinking around like 4th or 5th grade. I had a little boombox, and with this boombox, I was getting old cassettes from my family and stuff like that, and I was dubbing over, and I was making my own mixtapes of just like stuff on the radio and stuff.
I remember that shit.
But that's my first memory of like equipment.
Yeah.
Before like an instrument or anything like that, because I wasn't really like very young. I wasn't ever really trained on any like a guitar or a keyboard.
Your
or
family,
singing
you
or
didn't have a family like of like music people and stuff like
so
that.
So that's where this comes in. Also, is like I do have some musicians in my family, and my father, the biggest musician and influence in my life, he helped get me into some different pieces of equipment.
Eventually, yeah. So
but I remember earlier before.
Yeah, it was like you like listening to the radio, waiting for your favorite songs, and then like putting the cassette in and hitting record and making your own.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dude,
I remember just being the biggest fan
as an early late 90s, early 90s, late 80s kid. My brother was born 89 and I was 92, so that was like essentially our same avenue of like trying to create our own, like waiting for our favorite songs, listening to all this, like, oh, they just announced it, hit record.
What was the music that you were recording on there? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny. A lot of it was usually like alternative rock, what was popular back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I would have to imagine this was probably somewhere around like 95 or 96 when I was actually doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, mainly some rock and stuff like that. You know, all the 91X, Rock 105.3, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I just remember wanting to create tape cassettes for literally a drive to go somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't driving at the time.
Yeah,
I was a kid.
And you're already curating like a...
But I'm like, oh, we're going to go surfing over the weekend. And like, all right, I want to get something that'll get me and my friends pumped.
Yeah.
Get the family pumped before we go out there. You know what I mean? So that was one of my biggest and earliest memories of just like getting into music. And I didn't know exactly what I was doing. I was just searching like figuring it out as I go. Like, okay, like I got to figure out when to dub over, when to stop, when to like wait and listen for my best song, my favorite song to come in, or even literally call into a radio station.
You did that.
Yeah.
See, I was always too like shy to do that. You see, you actually did that. That's really cool. I never got the guts to like.
And then you're just like waiting for it to come on.
That's really cool.
Yeah, sometimes you wait so long and it's hard. Like you don't.
You're like, this
you
shit
didn't
ain't
have the
coming
internet back
on.
then. You didn't know the cue.
Oh, no,
like
yeah,
these days, they have a cue of what's going to come up or like what's already played.
It was like you got to wait for the radio host to be like, and up next.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you're like, oh shit, and you're like,
Bring it out.
get ready to press record.
Or if like an album just dropped, it's like, oh, every station's going to be playing it for a certain amount of time.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, oh, it's got to happen this weekend.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff. But
yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah, no, that's a great start. I mean, yeah, that is literally equipment number one. I never really looked at it like that, but I always think of like, oh, my first Akai like mini keyboard or like I never really thought of that as being like gear number one. So that's a cool way to look at it, because technically that was us, getting into music and like like mixing and putting together like a piece. So that's solid.
That's interesting, because I kind of want to segue with that. Is now obviously we see, I know you're making beats too, like on the 404, the Mark II, but I think I've seen like videos on like your stories and stuff where you have like an MPD, and what you're using, like Reason.
yeah. So
So like, what's the like? When are you using one or the other? Are you using one or the other more now?
So it kind of depends on like what kind of mood I am or where I'm at. I got the 404 mainly because it's good for traveling. Like a quick session to get somewhere. Like it's portable. It's basically my whole studio in a small little box.
Yeah,
You know what I mean,
I agree.
and I don't need a whole lot to create music. And I don't want too much, because sometimes it's too much. It's overbearing.
You have too many options.
So and I've always been a sample based person. So like I start off with the sample. So that like just that alone in the 404, like I'm good. But
you get a lot of options to
a lot
work
of
with.
people say that too with hardware, where when I was doing a lot of research before I got my 404, people were saying like, if you're like a laptop based producer kind of in the box, like when you start limiting yourself, like you find this creative, like you're very limited on what you can do, and it forces you in a good way of kind of like, you can't like time stretch samples, like you can't do all this like crazy shit that you can do on a computer, so you're very like limited to what you have.
You got to get creative.
Yeah, and that like fosters your creativity. Like, how am I going to make this work?
Yeah,
I definitely agree. And my main thing is both of those pieces of equipment have a huge juxtaposition where like on my laptop with Reason and an MPD, I can visually see everything. And it's really easy to go like tweak some knobs and make things sound good and do all that. But on the 404, I don't really have that option to like, you can see some waveforms, but you can't see the whole project. It's not a DAW. It's not drawn out. Like you just have to listen.
And like,
well, I mean, I'm one of the few people who actually does use patterns on the 404. So I will use it's almost like a DAW, but you just can't really see. You just have to go off of a feeling and listen.
Yeah, on like pattern mode, for sure. Exactly. And dude, it's funny because the 404, I love it, but it's
have more experience.
It's a finicky piece of equipment. Like it's so funny, dude. Like you watch like YouTube videos. When I remember when I first got it, and people doing reviews on it, and people being like, "Dude, this thing's sick. The effects are sick, but damn, this workflow is like convoluted as fuck." Like it's definitely not like you definitely can't open it
apart.
Dude, you can't open that shit out the box, even with all your knowledge. If you just like turned it on and went to use it, you'd be like, "What the fuck is this?"
And
like it's not like opening a DAW where you can like, oh, okay, like if you've used Reason, you could probably work around with Logic or Ableton or FL, kind of click around and be like, okay, this is how you do this. The 404 is like way harder to do that.
It's difficult to navigate for sure.
Holding shift and then like, pressing a pad, like
when you first start, it's not easy. But I mean, once you've been working with music, you really can translate your workflow over to something. But your mind is the only thing that's limiting you.
Yeah. Is Reason the only DAW that you've used?
So
it's a great one, by the way.
I started with Reason, I'm probably going to stick with Reason the rest of my life.
If you know it. Yeah, it's one of those, you know it.
It's been getting what I mean. I started working on Reason around 2012. I took a course at the City College over here, and they had like a digital music class, and they taught for like half of the semester was Reason, and then the other half was like to integrate Pro Tools. And that was like my first introduction to any DAWs.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, Reason is so cool. And I think the reason they do that is because of the integration of like having the ability to press tab and, you know, like actually get it to the closest thing you can to like wiring software or like
it's like that modular thing.
Right? They got the whole like you actually get like double knowledge from that. Like in order to like really utilize it, like it takes you know, it takes the ability to like the same shit that, you know, you have in a studio to like know how to hook up gear. And I think that's probably why they started that as like step number one, is because it really teaches you how to put software and hardware together in synchronicity.
When did you start on Reason?
I started on Reason when I was in high school. I graduated in 2008. And so I would say like probably been working on Reason since like 2005 or 2006 or something.
Yeah.
Like
how was it changed
sophomore.
From then?
It's changed drastically.
But you've been there for all the updates, essentially.
Right? So I started on a copy that my buddy Eli, shout out Eli.
Yeah, shouts out.
So my buddy Eli gave me a copy of his Reason 2.5.
It was like a CD. That was what you installed.
Like literally a CD and a serial code, and he actually owned it, so it wasn't one of the bootleg ones. Which I've had many of. But basically, like he gave me a serial code because he knew I was serious about beats, and he was the MC back then. He was like,
I was sick.
He's like, hopefully you can get started off and like make some beats. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's a real homie, right?
But shout out to Eli helping the bay.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But
that's awesome.
So that can kind of segue to another thing. So one of the reasons I do like Reason is because I did grow up with my father, who was a guitar player, and he shreds on the guitar, like so good at guitar, like
acoustic, electric, both, all of it.
Mainly electric. Like he's just killing it, like doing all like the rock, like
Was he the type of dude to have like multiple guitars for different things and like
growing up my whole life, he's always had his collection, and it's always like
see, that's a real blockhead.
He buys a certain one, and then like he finds out something might be better, and he sells the old one and gets a new one. He's always been buying and trading his whole life. That's kind of why I'm a little hustler, but basically
I feel that though.
Growing up with him, he always had a Marshall full stack, half stack, whatever.
I mean, that's
so he had gear.
So that's another one of my early pieces of equipment. I would go in there and I would plug in stuff. I would plug in the guitar
on like pedals and shit.
I would plug in his pedals. He had a whole. So he would either have a few pedal boards, or like later on he just had a huge pedal board. And I'm
that's
like
early on learning signal flow and shit.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm in the front of the amp plugging in stuff. I learned early on, like I would say probably like 10 years old, how to use an amp.
So guitar was kind of like the first love, you would say, of like learning an instrument.
It was definitely the first instrument, and I was very intrigued.
Okay, see, I can.
Unfortunately, like my relationship with it didn't last longer, but
you know, it's crazy. You learn that signal flow, and then when you got to Reason, that signal flow,
it just translated.
Like, kind of, you're like, oh shit, this is like fucking playing with guitar pedals and amps.
I was just like, okay, Reason is talking my language.
Yeah, exactly, like what you were saying.
That's
like
a very good signal flow integration.
Yeah, learning like you plug something in the wrong way. Oh shit. That's not right. Like you learn
blow a couple speakers.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many speakers I've blown.
Yeah, you learn right away. That's fucking awesome.
That's probably the best version of like Reason's probably the best if somebody's like an electric guitarist that has a bunch of pedals, and once they get into like
kind of like routing,
it just makes sense, you know, from a guitar player standpoint.
Yeah. So that's a good tip for anybody who you know is an avid guitar player, like wanting to be like, you know what, I want to add some kick, snare, drums, synths to my shit. Maybe Reason might be it for you. So you know, that's a great tip. I guess you know, something I wanted to add. I guess going down the line now that we're kind of where we're at now, and early in your sampling career and what you've been doing more for music recently is I made a note that was like I've definitely noticed like a strong jazz, and then a jazz intuition or inspiration.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but especially after this set, where you're talking about where it was like you said Italian jazz, was it?
Oh, like it's film music. We were talking about that off camera.
Yeah.
Like film scores and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
Italian film scores.
Yeah, so that was like,
which are very jazzy.
That was new. Yeah, that was like new knowledge. But like, but I already had the question kind of lined up for you. I could tell you're very jazz influenced with all of your beats. For the most part, for like, especially what you do for your like instrumental for yourself as Chef Jeff. Like it's a lot of jazz oriented stuff. Do you remember where that started from? Where like you really got that inspiration from, or?
Oh, it's hard to tell where exactly it came from. I've always had a huge appreciation for certain styles of music, and especially once I started really listening, when I started hearing the nuances between like music that actually had real feeling in it as opposed to pop music.
Yeah. Kind of like heavily on, like very loose compared to that, obviously.
Yeah. So I just noticed early on, I can't remember the exact age, but I would say I was probably in like 9th or 10th grade. Mm-hmm. Most of my friends were like into, like gnarly music, just the rap, like, and don't get me wrong, I grew up with a lot of rap background, like, like NWA, I was growing up listening to that, like as a little kid. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's just the Italian music. I noticed I would come home. It would be hot. I would be chilling. I would want to smoke. And I would just want to put something on that I can just listen to and just relax. And like, and not just relax, but like think and like introspect and
like easy listening.
And,
like,
and there's just
thinking.
I just figured out like there's certain grooves I really like we say Italian jazz and stuff like that, but like the jazz funk, like all these different fusions. I was always into like movies and cinema, so the original soundtracks, like a lot of the Italian stuff would go with like car chases and like cool action films and sexy women, like you see girls on the cover or something. So I'm like, these dudes are like onto something. They're onto something. You know what I mean? I want to pay attention to it.
That's amazing, because people think about jazz music as like kind of like something that came from kind of like Southern culture and like other things like that.
Well, it is, but as soon as it went to other parts of the world, like their take on it,
is like it's so like like you just look at any like Scorsese film or something. You hear some like sick ass like Italian jazz music in the back. And you're like, it's I love that you said that it's like relaxing, but like also thought provoking.
It's like also suspenseful.
Definitely.
I liked it a lot too, because a lot of the like Italian, like I love that music too. Like my lady's really into it. We listen to it a lot, and it's like you get like those jazz notes, but then you get like almost like that like quartet of strings like mixed in, which like wasn't as like an American thing, but you hear in Europe, where it's almost like closer to like the symphony stuff, but like there's like a sax and like piano, but then you get like the violins and the violas coming in, and it kind of, like you said, suspenseful.
The plucked violins.
Like you get like this different sound that like wasn't necessarily super prevalent in America at that time. But those, like, as soon as jazz like hits other parts of the world, people start adding their own take to it.
Yeah, I mean,
but dude, easy listening for sure. Like you can just kick it and like lay there, and like you don't have to like focus on words, any crazy like drum rhythms. Like it's very like relaxing, especially if you're smoking and shit. Like
exactly.
You're just like in your own world, just chilling.
And then so like using that as like a base of your samples, that's been becoming pretty prominent of like your style, and I think you're doing it very well, especially after the set.
Thank you.
Like we said, go back and take a look at the set that we just had. I'd like to ask too, though, because you had this very interesting project that I kind of looked into a little bit, and it had such a cool name. It was the Parallel Paradigms by the Coordinates.
Oh,
And then so that was like a completely it was a project that you had that had like features on almost, if not every song, with like other rappers and stuff, like people like rapping on top of your shit. And I've done stuff like that too, where it's like you are your own person and you work with somebody else. And I'm always curious, like, was this something like that you would do? Like, would you have like pre-made beats that you would just show them, or was this something like, hey, we're gonna come over and we're gonna make something from scratch? Or did you like just kind of come with like, hey, I got like fucking 12 beats, and if you guys want to rap over it, like, you guys are more than welcome to do that? Because I kind of got the vibe that like you guys were like probably in the studio together, and it's like it had a different like timbre, it had a different like little feeling to it. It wasn't like this stuff that you do solo, so there's got to be some influence there, right?
Yeah, I'd say you're definitely hitting the nail on the head with that one.
Okay.
So I didn't really have much pre-made stuff for that project. And it's not my own project, but it's one project that I'm very proud of. And it's one of the very few releases that I actually have with my name on it, credited. One that I fully back the MCs who are, putting their life into the lyrics and stuff like that. So I was very proud to be a part of that project. And basically, I just tapped in with a few of my friends, and one of my main buddies who like just is constantly introducing me to people to like work or do whatever, and just vibe with my friend Ryan Katona.
Shout out
Ryan Katona.
So, right.
So he basically just always put me in line with people who he thought I should know, especially because I was just kind of a bedroom producer. Like, I would go home after college, I would sit, smoke, listen to samples all day.
Yeah.
I'll be creating beats and stuff like that just constantly. And eventually it got to a point where my friends just like, dude, are you going to show anyone these beats? Like, what are you doing?
Somebody?
Yeah.
That's how you know they're fire, though.
people.
That's
Yeah,
a good
yeah.
compliment. That's like, bro, like people need to hear this shit.
Yeah. So I was surprised, and like, I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was just like, I'm just doing my thing. I'm a big fan of music. I just want to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I would just sit and make beats, and eventually I had some certain beats that like fit this vibe for this certain project, and I had been getting to know this crew. So it was like Edgar Israel, Trust One. He was a big proponent in that whole San Diego style of music that was going on in that album.
Yeah.
Sweat Hands, so Chief Sweat, Funkmaster Sweat.
Yeah,
he's on that
Shit.
album.
Oh yeah.
With a different alias, and emphasize, like, oh man, like so many.
Yeah.
Edgar Israel,
I saw
like
a few tracks
like
with
basically,
Yeah.
just everyone I didn't know, but I already, like, in my heart, I knew that style of music. Like, I was a big fan of just really underground stuff, and they had their own sound going on. And I just had some certain beats that I like tapped into my mind, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is delegated towards them. Like, this will fit their vibe.
Yeah.
And my friend introduced us, and basically it went from there. And like,
Sweet. Yeah.
I'm still friends with all those guys and wish them all the best, and we're all just having a great time now.
Yeah.
That was like my first main project.
That's awesome. Like, that's kind of like the feeling that I got from all of that, and I think it's really interesting. I think as like producers, like like you get into this like multi-personality zone where it's like,
Yeah, when you kick it with people.
you kind of have like things sectioned off for like, you're like, oh, this would work for this person, and this is going to work for that person, and
Or
it's
even
almost
just
like
being
you're-
in a room with them.
Yeah, it's like your different friend groups. You like,
Yeah.
admittedly, I cannot get all my friend groups in one room.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
Not fucking get along.
Yeah.
there would not be one song that would get accomplished after that, probably.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, kind of like curating stuff, knowing like, oh, this is the type of shit they're on, like, you know, and you can kind of work on it based, you know, on what you know they're capable of, and they know obviously what you're capable of, and you're kind of,
oh yeah.
yeah. Are you finding the samples like with them, or were you kind of like full on chef mode, like, yo, peep this shit?
I was full on just in my zone, and those are some of my.
Like.
There's some Italian samples, some the main sample I have on that album that is like my favorite thing was like some Polish jazz.
Oh shit!
I can't even pronounce the girl's name.
Like, I was gonna say, don't even feel bad. You don't have to try.
What's it? No, that is. Yeah, tap into that project though. That was a really cool project.
Yeah, we'll put it on screen.
They don't make music like that anymore.
Yeah, we'll put that on.
Yeah,
you know what? I wish I could hear that more.
Like, you know, I heard a bunch of your stuff and I was like, that one stuck out.
Yeah.
And like, you know, because there was a lot of features and everything, and it's always like that, man. Like, people bring things out of you that you never would think of doing on your own, but you're like, like you kind of read the room. You feel the energy, and you're like, okay, we're gonna do things this way.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really interesting.
Some of it you just can't do on your own. Like another person that I didn't mention yet was Chemtrail, or he goes by Chemtrail, but he laid down the scratches for all that. Like provided a lot of samples.
Yeah,
like there's even a video on one of those songs, like one of my favorite songs on there. So it's I don't know. It was nice to be at that time because. I know I can make beats, but I can't rap as good as those guys.
Right.
And that's why I wanted to give them to specifically that.
Delegate
I've had a ton of people hit me up. I'm like, yeah, sure. I bet you want to work with me, but like, I don't like your lyrics. I don't like what you're talking about. Like, you don't have a message.
Yeah, you can't really like force. You can't really force those things. Like when it's organic, dude, you can tell.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's something where things do sound organic.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do want to mention this is just a small in-passing conversation we had. This is my beat. Not this last one, but the one before that. Because remember, I played like some house songs. And you were like, oh, dude, like I'm working on some house shit. Are we going to hear some like house tracks coming out from Chef Jeff soon?
So,
What's up with that?
I've always got different stuff. Like,
love that.
I mean... Honestly, if you just pitch my music up and speed it up at the same time, it literally can turn into a house track. It's pretty wild, and
that's true.
I just used to experiment. Like I would get bored with some of my flips, and I would just, you know, let's crank it up.
Yeah, that 80 through 90 BPM, you're gonna fuck around with like 100 to 120.
Oh yeah, 120. Like fucking just quicken the pace and like just do stuff different, you know. I get bored doing the same thing, so I like to switch up my hobbies and all that. You know, like you can't just keep doing the same thing repetitively. You got to go search.
So we're gonna hear some house tracks then.
Yeah, I mean,
we got to hear some.
It really like you know, it's like we're saying, it depends on the friend setting, like the group setting. You know, it just depends on where I'm at.
I feel that.
I mean, we potentially have some summer stuff coming out.
Yeah, definitely.
Take a look at that. But yeah, that's a great one, man.
And then I know this is something you also wanted to touch on is kind of like I don't want to take your question, but like involvement with like This Is My Beat. That's how I met you. So like, what's like?
That was you know, I unfortunately haven't been over to the events as much as you guys have.
The weekend worker.
Yeah.
The week.
It's like Friday,
that's hard.
Saturday,
the weekend worker.
I'm like, I guess I'm not going.
Yeah.
Which isn't.
But how's that involvement?
Yeah.
You know, Ben, because I met you there, and you were probably going
like,
before me.
Yeah, kind of like how long you've been there, the involvement, kind of that realm.
So I mean, so basically, I remember getting involved one weekend. I was out at the skate park. I broke my foot, like in the first 10 minutes of being at the park, just warming up. So I had to go home. I tried to walk it off, fucking go home. I didn't even go to the doctor. I just went home. I didn't have health insurance at the time. I knew it was going to be fucking expensive as shit.
Fuck, dude.
Like, let me just suck it up.
Yeah, no, it's just like my family, like we just, that's kind of what we do. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's just kind of like, you wait out certain things if you're not like literally dying.
I feel that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm all right. Like, I'll just go home. I'll fucking smoke a shitload of weed and I'll drink a few brews and I'll be all right. You know? So like I get home, I put some ice pack on, or like I put a couple ice packs on. I'm like, yeah, this shit's definitely broken. Like the sound alone it made. But basically, so I'm cooped up a whole weekend. My girl at the time, my ex-girlfriend now, she came by, like helped me out for a little bit. But my friend just sent me a message. It was like, hey, there's a remote challenge for sampling.
What year was this?
Would you be down to do this? So I believe this was 2023.
Okay.
So like a year and a half.
Oh,
ago.
was it like when he was?
So it was like I remember it was December.
Yeah.
Like December 11th. Like literally, it's
Gotcha.
it's in my mind because I keep seeing that shit pop up on my feed. But basically, so a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know.
Yeah.
Around then.
Yeah.
It might have been a little bit before that. I know because I met you in 2023.
Yeah.
And that was out of this.
It's
Maybe,
probably
was it
like a
2022?
Year and a half, getting close to 2 years.
It might have been.
I think it might have been 2022 because I met you in 2023. Out of
It was
this.
definitely the tail end of 22.
Okay, that
And
makes
then-
sense.
And then 23.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so I met
So-
you like a couple months after that.
So I definitely wasn't in there from the ground floor up. I don't know how long they had been around, but my friend told me about like this sample challenge. It's like, hey, dude, you should just do this because I know you're good at making beats.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was my friend Ryan again.
yeah.
Just literally always connecting the dots and like getting
Right.
me to the people I need to be with.
Yeah.
And
That's
thank
awesome.
God for that, dude. He's helped me out a lot.
That's awesome.
Like literally with jobs and everything. But basically, yeah, so I remember doing my first remote submission and just getting a bunch of feedback, and I was kind of like stunned. I was like,
Everyone was like, yo, who's this dude? Like,
Yeah,
his shit's fire.
it got kind of featured on their page, and then they're like, dude, do you have a name? Like, I'm like, shit, man, I've been making beats for 15 to 20 years. I haven't even fucking thought of a name. Like,
That's crazy.
Like,
Is that the origin of Chef Jeff?
that is the origin of Chef Jeff.
Like, I saw a lot of your stuff like on SoundCloud and everything. I'm like, this man goes by his name. That's a bold move.
Yeah, Jeff Perry.
You know, like,
And I've never been embarrassed about my name.
I mean,
Like,
your name is
it-
cool. I'm like,
I don't need to hide
if I
anything.
do
Like,
that, Steven Smith. That's fucking whack as shit. I was like, I had to create an artist name, but Jeff Perry sounds cool.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
And Chef
like,
Jeff goes hard too.
Yeah.
Was that on the moment you just were like Chef Jeff?
You are a chef, and
No.
you are Jeff. So
that goes back to my friend Ryan again.
Yeah.
So like
Shout
way
out Ryan,
way
dude.
back on fucking I don't know, like early 2000s, like I don't know, maybe like 2008 or 2010 or something like that. I remember he just like shouted me out on Facebook when Facebook was a thing.
oh yeah,
It still is,
When it
but
wasn't just for old people.
So we're like,
Yeah.
in 2005, 2000.
yeah, and I just remember I could pull up a comment where he's like calling me Chef Jeff, and I had that nickname when I was really young. Like I would go to my neighbors' houses and barbecue, and they call me Chef Jeff, and I would just help them out. I was just like trying to learn. I just wanted to learn because I wasn't around anyone that knew how to barbecue good.
Yeah.
But basically, like later on, I'm like 15. He's calling me Chef Jeff, and I'm like, I like the name, but I never like went by a pseudonym or a AKA.
Yeah,
And I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, I'm on the spot now. Like, what am I gonna think of? Like, oh, I can't think of anything because I never put any time into it.
yeah.
But I was like, yeah, like my buddy's been calling me Chef Jeff forever. Like, I'm gonna go with that. You know what I mean?
See,
So that's where that came from.
my pseudonym came from a high school story as well. So a lot of things stem from like these old
Yeah.
memories, at least for me.
Yeah.
And it sounds like for you as well. You know, it's these like
memories.
nostalgic memories that like kind of, encompass like who you were before and who you are now.
Yeah. And you know what's well also before I go further, shout out Alejandro, and this is my
Shout out Alejandro.
Alejandro,
This is my beat.
brother.
Because dude, I remember the first the first This Is My Beat I went to. I met you, Marcus, and Ray out. Like I met you guys because that was when it was at El Pez, dude, and I lived like in those neighborhoods behind El Pez. And I was like, bro, I remember that when Alejandro was doing them there, and I was like, kind of shy, you know, because I'm like, like I don't know anyone, and like this guy always works weekends, and I was like telling my girls like, all right, fuck it, you're gonna come with me. I'm gonna play the open aux.
Don't
like,
roll solo.
like fuck it. Actually, De La was there. That all of you guys.
Yeah,
you
probably
De La,
winter intern.
Marcus, like yeah, it was you guys and Alejandro, of course, that I met. That was like the first time, and then it like snowballed from there, and I'm like super glad I went. I was eventually gonna go, but. Like, I met all these, like, figureheads. Like, Marcus has been on here. De La's been on here.
Yeah.
You're on here now. We're going to have Alejandro now. But these people that, like, we're at all these, like, you know, every This Is My Beat. Well, when we can make it. Like, I'm super hyped, though, that I got to meet you at, like, something like that.
Same as well. Yeah, same as
Like,
well. It's been great.
And then, so even recently, kind of outside some of the This Is My Beat stuff, shouts out Lord Drucifer. I know you've been popping
shout out
on
Lord Drew.
NLB and shit.
Yeah, you know,
how's that been out there?
I've been wanting to stay busy and just kind of like keep up on my chops and stuff like that. Literally,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he invited me out a couple of times, and I was just like, all right, this is kind of fun scene. I'm already out here all the time. I'm doing ceramics out there.
Yeah.
I'm always at this little ceramic studio, Botanica. That's a good spot. Botanica.
Shouts out Botanica.
Yeah. So like, you know, I want to get my creativity out. No matter the means, like it doesn't matter if I'm drawing, painting, surfing, skateboarding, music.
Yeah.
I just need to do something. I need to be creative. Otherwise,
You're multi-talented.
Yeah.
For sure. You know,
And then, and that shit's just like on the sidewalk and shit.
Yeah.
Like you get like this
it's
feedback
live. It's
from
real
people
live.
who are not like, you know, a lot of the B shows, a lot of people are other producers. But when you're doing it there, you're getting just like random people walking by who are like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like, this is sick.
Yeah, and I mean that comes with the territory of like some people aren't pleased to see you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They see you as a nuisance.
Yeah.
And like loud, and you're in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I know he's dealt with some trouble with that.
I saw
North
this,
Park area
video that
The
went
one in
out.
North Park.
Yeah.
And but
I popped in live the other day, though.
ended
You're
up
on
like
there.
Oh, sick.
really good for him.
Yeah. Shouts out Lord Jucifer.
Yeah, Lord Drew. Drew.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me.
He's gotta come down here.
Oh yeah, we gotta have Drew on.
Yeah, he should be on here.
But you know, you mentioned the ceramics. I wanted to segue into not just the ceramics, but dude, you're like a modern day polymath, dude. Like you're doing like the food shit, you're making beats, you're making ceramics, like you're drawing, painting, like you have like all these avenues of creativity. Like, can you tell us a little bit about that? Because
Yeah, you're very multi-talented. What do they call that? Like
well, I know back in Greece you were called a polymath. Like if you were like
polymath
doing
is a great word.
involved in the arts and like all these different
Yeah.
types of arts
Yeah.
and sciences or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost say like jack of all trades and stuff like that. But I always like hated that because it's like people look down on it. It's like, why don't you just be good at one thing instead of all?
You can be good at a lot of things, and you are good at a lot of things.
I want to do what I want to do when I want to. You know, I don't really care about what people's opinion of my music, about what I'm wearing, how I look, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I don't want to say I get bored with stuff, but there's certain times where it's like, okay, I'm kind of plateaued right now, and I need to switch over to something to break in a little bit, like help the creativity flow.
Yeah, it kind of keeps it fresh for you.
And I was definitely going through some shit a little while ago with like a breakup and shit.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go to music. I already like sampled sad music, make sad beats and stuff like that. Even when I was in love and having fun and living my life and doing good. So I didn't want to do it when I was already like, I don't know. I just didn't want to influence my music too much with how I was feeling because it wasn't good.
That's very.
So I just wanted to switch it up and figure out something that kind of like
What's another?
do something else.
Yeah.
And
How else can I use my creativity?
exactly. And that thing for me was ceramics. Like I did that way back in high school. I did it in college, but then I stopped for like 10 years. I was like, I didn't really look back. Like I didn't think about doing it.
You weren't like sold on it. Yeah.
I wasn't sold on it.
Yeah.
My friend Ryan,
Dude,
Ryan,
Ryan. He's like, get back on that shit.
yeah, he's like, dude, I know you know how to do ceramics. I'm going to this spot. It's a lot cheaper than most of these places, and like I think you'll have a good time. I'm like, dude, I need that right now. Like I need to do something
Like another outlet.
So I just popped a fucking piece of clay on the wheel and just got right back into it. And
That's very healthy of you.
Riding a bike, dude. You just got right
just
back
like riding a
into it?
bike. Just
Damn.
first batch came out. It was
and
epic.
I just want to say for people like that's such a healthy way to go about like if you're in a like ending a relationship or things are tumultuous, whatever's going on, finding a new hobby is probably the healthiest thing that you could ever do, as opposed to just like
sulking,
doubling down on your sulkness. I mean,
please get a hobby.
Yeah,
please get a hobby.
Dude, we mentioned
Don't
this
sit
on
at
another
home.
one, not on this.
Don't
but
just drink.
Get a fucking.
Don't just get into drugs.
Yeah, get a hobby. Like
you heard it. You heard it here first.
Yeah,
folks.
get a hobby.
Get a hobby. Like
it's so easy to fall into a hole. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like some people can help you, but like I would say like people like me, like I don't want to talk to other people about necessarily how I'm feeling or even burden other people. It's just like, let me just feel this at the moment, figure it out, and then let it pass.
kind of express
I know it's
yourself.
going to take time.
and then use your other outlets to just express that without the external pressure of like what the fuck is going on. Like you just get to express it yourself.
Dude, but the ceramics go so fucking hard. I remember when I had seen them a bunch on your story, and I was like, dude, these are sick. And then remember I was like, yo, like, have you ever made like a sake, like a carafe?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you got me into like trying it.
Dude, fucking shouts out. I love that shit at home, dude.
Shout out Kenji.
Yeah, dude, me and my girl were using it. I sent you that video. We're making some yakitori at home.
I love that photo. It's nice to get like, receive that like, oh, somebody can actually use it, or even if it's just displayed as art, whatever.
Dude, I treasure that shit. That'd be one of those if anyone's like, yo, pop that out. I'm like, nah. I'll bring the random China ones when people are around, but when it's like a special like sake bottle, I'm like, I'm pulling out the Jeff Perry special.
That's what's up.
Like, I'm pulling out the good shit.
I always try to like make stuff that'll last a long time, and it's like, I wouldn't want to break something. I mean, it's okay if it happens, but like that, I want something that can last a long time even after I'm gone. Like whether it's my music or my ceramics,
you're kind of
my
immortalized
art,
in it,
or literally how I make people feel. You know what I mean? Like there's so much to this life that's more than just working a fucking 9 to 5. I know. I know some of you guys know what that's like.
Yeah, we all know what that's like. And it's funny. De La had a similar sentiment. Shouts out when he was on.
Shout out De La.
You know what's funny? It's coming back to me when we were saying get a hobby. When De La was
exactly. I just watched that. Yeah,
saying like get a hobby. Like he was saying he knows people that don't have a hobby.
It's like
you need
that'll save
an
your
outlet
life.
like that. Like it's good to.
Yeah. I mean, you get around some people and their hobby is watching Real Housewives or gossiping about their neighbors or their friends, and it's like
not productive.
What are you doing to better your life?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, like I understand, like, get some of your rants out if something's happened to you, but it's like some people just need to focus on themselves and better themselves and their community and their friends and
you're doing exactly that, dude.
That's 100% that, man.
You're killing that.
Yeah,
shit. I've been telling him, look out. He's hit up Jeff. You got to start buying his ceramics if you're watching this shit.
Buy my shit.
For sure, follow him on Instagram. You'll see his stories. You'll see him cooking up. He's got some nice photos. You know what?
Oh, thank you.
Right now, you'll see him on screen. I'll get some photos from Jeff. We'll pop some of these ceramics on screen. You'll see him on screen. But
Jeff,
dude,
man,
it's so awesome.
Thank you.
I don't know how much time we have left. There was like maybe like one little
time.
We got a little time. Okay, beautiful. Because I was now that we're getting close to the like who was the person. I know the plant life is really close to you.
Oh yeah,
and it kind of seems like that's a major part of like I don't know if like in employment or like hobby and or both. I see you doing a lot of these like fucking cute ass little pots and then like bringing in all these like big ass plants from places. Like it seems like that's kind of a big fixture in your life, and that shit's really fascinating to me because I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or whatever, but I feel like the plant life is like it's such a wholesome road to go down in terms of like taking care of things and just watching it grow and like
and that's your 9 to 5.
the appreciation around that. You know, I'm really curious, like how you got into that and like and everything.
I would say all that kind of started early on. Like most of us, like at a certain age, like in the 90s and shit, you go outside, you play in the mud.
Yeah.
You flip rocks over, you'd find bugs. You go check out animals
like,
out in the gardens and stuff like that.
You flip the fucking thing over, you see all the
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, I was blessed to have a very good family, very caring family, and they did their best with what they had. And I mean, I'm not saying it's minimal or anything like that. It was actually more than most people have, in which I'm like very blessed to even be experiencing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, early on, I just remember going out to both sets of my grandparents. They both would just grow their own food. Like a lot, like not everything. You can never really.
Yeah, they had a little they had a garden and stuff.
So they had a not just a little garden, like a full on garden. Like big raised beds and. Like,
sweet.
Like they like full on like take the soil, like bad clay soil out, full on redo their whole backyard with good soil, have nice flowers and stuff like that. But I just remember as a kid, like literally like maybe like 5 or 6 years old, pulling out carrots that were huge out of my grandparents' like garden, and I'm like, oh, this is normal. You know, this is cool. Like this is what life is. You know? And I would just be out in the garden all day because I was a helper. You know what I mean? Like, pull the weeds, get some money. Eventually, it turned into like, oh, you're like 12 or like 13. Like you need to start earning an allowance. You need to start trimming our hedges. You need to mow the lawns and stuff like that. That's how I get my money.
It started to gradually raise you up.
It was an early on thing, just learning how to care for certain plants and stuff, and like picking fruit and all that. And they had 10s of 20s of different fruit trees, full big things. So that was my earliest memories out just doing.
Yeah, that ain't a little garden. That's a
full on garden. So that's like where it started, and then evolved. When I was a teenager, I still had appreciation towards it. I started getting into like cannabis when I was probably like 14 or 15, like most people. So early high school, but like I always studied stuff more, and I always like appreciated stuff more than like certain friends or whatever. I would just.
Oh, you were getting into like the nitty gritty shit.
Yeah, I would just like, we can smoke. We can smoke that, but like, how does it grow? Like, we got seeds in our sack. Like, oh shit, like let's try that. Like, So I just remember early on, like super early in high school, I was growing weed, like hiding it in my parents' backyard, like big old yard. But I was like, I was doing like guerrilla shit where like it was hidden, like you can't really tell. Yeah, if you see it, you know. But like, I tried to hide it, and I put care into it. You know, I'd water it every day, like go talk to it and all that weird shit. And that was early on.
Music.
Yep. I didn't want to get popped, so I wasn't playing music. I was just like, go. Oh yeah, I'll come back to you.
You're all like, thank you.
All right, okay. I'll see you tomorrow. And then wait till harvest and shit and try and get some weed. It was always hard to do that. But I mean, that's the real challenge right there. Like anyone can grow weed, but harvesting it and making it taste good, smell good, all that. That's different. But yeah, basically like that was my teenage years. And then eventually, like after like several jobs, like regular jobs, like one of the most notable was a cooking job. After that, I was in this spot where I needed another job, and I wanted to quit cooking job. It wasn't a lifestyle. Late nights, always on the weekends, every holiday.
You know, I mean, we weren't chefs, but we worked at restaurants. Yeah, we've been
holiday.
Those words pierce my heart.
You think it's hot?
Night weekends, man.
You think it's hot in a studio or something like that? Like, no, just wait till you're over the stove, like the fry cook. Oh man, go home smelling like grease and chicken wings. But basically, I just remember like wanting to get out of that job, and my friend was like, "Oh yeah, like our mutual friend owns a cannabis company. Let's get into that." Like he's letting me in on that, and it was like, "All right, cool." So I got a job making hash for a long time, like in the black market, and then eventually it turned into like he got enough funding, got his license. We went through all those phases. I was with him for like probably like 8 or so years.
that's just
like some of that was off the books and stuff like that. Yeah, I got
like
in
water hash and stuff.
ground floor water, always water hash. Yeah, bubble hash. Ice water and stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
55-gallon trash bags and 55-gallon bags and stuff.
Dude,
like
I was smoking.
I mean, that's a career at that time.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Hash was the fucking.
Yeah, well, I basically just had it.
That shit became dabbable.
Yeah, that was a whole different scene.
Exactly.
And that, I mean, now they make it out of water hash, but it's water hash is like ancient.
That's the OG
Practically
shit.
what
You don't hear that anymore.
Yeah, that's old.
You don't
That's
get
old
the OG bubble anymore like that. Like,
So that was like your that was your origin story of all
that-
the.
Wait. I don't
That's
want
not
to
where it
cut you off real
started,
fast.
yeah.
I want to go just a random stoner question. I don't even smoke weed anymore,
yeah.
but I want to know, what was your favorite micron, like from the polls?
90.
90?
Well,
A 90?
Wait, hold on. I liked the medium. It was more like 73, I think is what came on, like the bubble bags from like the OG guy.
Yeah. Was that guy from Canada? What was his name?
Something like that.
Yeah, there was like the bubble bags. That guy, he was
I
like
probably had some
Canadian, dude.
like way before.
Yeah. No, this guy's like,
but it
like
literally
early
said
2000s too. Yeah, that was like his brand.
Yeah.
So I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I can't remember. Probably BC or something like that.
It might have. Oh, I think it was
Canada.
BC. It was BC something. Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, I like the medium one because it's too small. All the broken heads fall into it, and then you basically have some greasy water hash.
Yeah.
But the medium one was fully intact, and you got.
That's why a lot of the greasy stuff ended up.
This
being
is
what
for the
people
weed
were,
addicts, boys.
dabbing and stuff, because like the 90 120s, because they were like a lot more oil.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you could like dab
They-
and stuff. Anyway, I don't want to get into tangent.
They get
about
melty
that.
and all
You're making
that,
me.
yeah.
I don't smoke weed anymore, but I did it for a long time, and I loved water hash.
Sounds like you might want to.
Yeah, so I can't.
So I mean,
we're just kidding.
I mean, just to continue, like it went from the cooking job to a cannabis job, and I didn't really work with plants there, but I got so fucking sick of working that because it became a corporate entity. There's no passion in it.
Over time.
Oh, like
Yeah.
the weed game, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And then it was overbearing, and it was just too much stress for what it was worth. And I just kept seeing my friends get laid off, and they would hire people that had no idea what they're doing.
Mass firing at that point. For
Yeah,
sure.
and I just got tired of that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a few months off. I need to figure myself out. I just went through a whole fucking slew of things, all bat, right in a row.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I need something for me. What do I want? And it was like, I should work with plants. I was just been a manager in a warehouse that was like all concrete, no windows, just dealing with different personalities, and people just could never like be chill. Like once things like kind of calmed down, somebody had to start some drama for no reason, you know, somebody was having a bad day or whatever. So I just got tired of dealing with all these people.
Yeah.
Like a team of 10 to 20 people at all the time, you know,
Yeah.
unrealistic goals. And I was like, I'm gonna try and work with plants. And I ended up taking like a few months off just to cool my head. And my friend was like, hey, we have a spot opening, come work with some plants. Now I'm like installing tropical plants at like really cool places.
That's fucking awesome.
Offices, hotels, like doing succulent walls, like moss walls and stuff.
That's so cool, dude.
It's just it's so calming compared to like being in
That pint you
production.
production is going strong.
Awesome.
Yeah, that shit's going strong. But dude, yeah, that shit's awesome to kind of find a passion, and you know, not everyone is as fortunate. I don't want to say lucky because it's not luck that puts you in this. Fortunate to like find something that you kind of had a background in already, and it's like, how do I do this and like make money out of this and be happy with what I'm doing? Work. I'm sure you have your days that are stressful.
And it's like, and in a wholesome way too, where it's like you don't have to worry about everything that goes around without.
And it comes with its own stresses, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, you're doing stuff that like you're familiar with, things that you like. Like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, man.
Just a big relief, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I did it, and
It's awesome. I love that.
Constantly learning.
Yeah.
It's been good.
Dude, it's great.
That's beautiful.
And I think that's where we say, you know, shouts out to Chef Jeff Perry. Make sure you're following him on his socials. Check out his Bandcamp. His Instagram is going to be in the description. Before we head out, you have any last things you want to say, like, what are you up to? What do you got going on in the future? What's coming next from Chef Jeff?
Pretty much just stay tuned. I kind of I found my stride in what I want to do and who I want to be around, and I'm finding my frequency. And
Hell yeah.
I want the best for me and my friends, and like the whole "This Is My Beat" shout out Alejandro. Seriously, like that was quite literally a lifesaver. Going through the worst point in my life, finding that helped me get in my groove of making music again. Finding the ceramics helped me get in the groove of things. Being with the plants helped me get in the groove of things. And there's always so much going on. So I want to slow down and appreciate what I have while I'm still here. And I mean, I'm getting to I'm only 34 now, but it's you only get older, and I just want people around me to know I appreciate them, and I want to have a good time, and I want the best for everyone. So
yeah.
I love that, man.
All the more reason to support,
Yeah.
Wholesome.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, take a look out.
Thank you.
This is Supraliminal signing out. Love you all.
That's how Chef Jeff.